If you sit up there, they're not.
Okay. Yeah. Because he's doing what we all want to do, sit back. How are you doing?
You're going to sit up here with us. Yeah.
Well, we have to make room for Kyle somewhere, too.
Kyle's going to sit too, because he's just going to get up and make a presentation.
Where do you want him?
He's just going to sit right there, and
And
then
talk
he'll
about
get up and make a presentation.
Oh, okay.
And then he's leaving.
Okay.
Testing.
All right, I'm moving so someone can sit on the side here if you want.
Jesse.
Test, test. Test. This one's not. Test, test. Test.
That was on the second.
Test.
Okay, you got to really speak into that one.
Yeah, that's true. The people at home said that when we were here for the annual meeting that they couldn't hear us very well.
This one seems to work a lot better.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Did we have one at that point? No? Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so we need to, I guess, just speak a little more loudly. I know. Oh, yeah.
What time we have to be out of here?
8:30, right? 8:30?
So, we should have enough time for questions and comments.
Dick Fox is on.
Yeah, they need.
Is this your good ear? Good, I'm on the right side. 60 of these handouts. I put them back here. Let's take them. How are you doing?
I'm still
Okay?
mild.
Oh, are you?
Same thing with the cataract in the left eye.
Oh, really?
That's my shock. I can't see the targets.
You know what I noticed?
Different faces from the time last week.
Boswell?
So, no, using my left eye.
Yeah, what they said, you want to try to keep those ones.
Really? Use my no, that guy who teaches the course. So, but anyway, what was happening was I was hitting left of where I was, so I just adjusted my sight a little bit. He said, oh, that's much better. Well, I had a little chat about Gwen, and Gwen was saying how much she enjoyed all the emails when she was on the board. Yeah, in the middle of the pandemic. So when I was tired and cranky, I was just shooting once,
Especially once,
and then
doesn't it?
aiming again. Yeah, it's too many. No, keep going. Yeah, which I didn't know either. I mean, the whole thing was a learning her for me. And it was fun.
Trent, when I came in, Trent said to me, "Are you ready to step up as president again?" I was like,
Yep.
"What did you hear?"
Yep.
outside the tree.
He thinks Laura should be saying
Yeah.
What?
He
Yeah.
thinks Laura
He
should.
teaches,
Yeah.
like, Boy Scouts, and he teaches a class at the center down at Riviera Beach. At the beach.
Well, it was pretty shocking.
So he was saying he had Boy Scouts a couple of weeks ago and had to
And then,
cover
of course,
all the
he
broom
emailed
bags.
the member. But he said they've been getting
Right,
emails
and the
on
targets,
two
you
different
can use the
CCC
silhouette targets, you can
point
use
of
those, all right? Yeah,
They were not
so,
Some of the ranges don't even allow it.
don't they? I think Fox has got about 100 of them. Of course, right?
See, politicians.
Yeah, right. His favorites.
Oh, there's Nancy. So are you gonna get Nancy up here? At least in town.
Depends on whether you want things thrown at you.
What?
Depends on whether you want anything thrown at you.
Yeah. I'm checking for weapons and tomatoes and things like that.
Rob says this is the only place he brings his guns is the church.
He said he does?
The
Yeah.
only place he brings it.
Isn't it sad?
It is.
I was gonna ask him if he was gonna bring it.
He might have it tucked in his belts.
Maybe. Vicki, were you here at the annual meeting here? I don't think Bernie was. It was before his time. We had the police officer here. No, we had to. Is that when you were running? Yeah, and it was when Deborah Ross was our attorney. She did a great job, but it was for, you know, there was like a handful that when they were in a group, they thought they were, you know. Oh, I think it was in 2018, that annual meeting. Yeah. We had it here.
I don't remember. I've been
Well,
here
because
20
some people
years.
just, you know, couldn't follow order. They all wanted to scream at once. She did, but I have to say, Deborah Ross handled that meeting very well.
Were you the president then?
Yes.
Well, what was the problem?
It wasn't one issue, I don't think. I think what it was John Hanish was mad because he didn't make president. Then he didn't run, and it was like John, it was a little bit led by John Hanish. It's like, oh, they're sitting about as far away in the corner as they can. I don't blame them. But I'll tell you, these chairs are so much more comfortable than the ones in the clubhouse. I would have said something to Rob. I don't think Kyle necessarily needs to bring up that 20% issue because I don't really, here again, it's like 20 or 25%. Is that like half one side? And so then somebody has to have damage again to do it. You know?
Do you think it would be worth sending an email to the shared group owners just to see how they feel? Like, would you voluntarily replace your roof when the other side needs it or
Yeah,
whatever.
after, so get a good consent.
Bob suggested a survey, and Lauren said that it was too late for that.
No, this
we
is
have
the
to-
beginning of the process still.
Oh, at the beginning.
I agree with you. We should do it.
I think so. Because
I mean,
That
we're
would be
still
useful.
open to more ideas. And,
okay, what am I supposed to say?
Sit there. Well, I
yeah,
think,
and I think we want
think,
to stress this is the beginning of the process.
yeah.
At the end.
No, this is Vicky, that's,
That's mine.
oh, over here,
That's my spot.
over here,
Because I'm gonna run around with mine.
over here.
Every time
Unless you want to do
we
that.
have a meeting here,
I can't
I
hear.
can't hear.
Okay.
I have my hearing aids in.
And that's what somebody said on Zoom, so we're gonna have to try to really shout.
You got the
Well,
mic.
when people talk in the
We
audience,
should get that.
We're gonna have a mic.
and they have to not hold it down here, because I'm gonna say,
You
I
sitting
can
up
hear
front?
right here.
All right, and then, yeah, we should be putting the question also.
Oh, isn't it? We have the money. And those chairs, those fold-up chairs. Yeah, you can fall asleep in these chairs. Yeah. Right. That's a good idea. Right? So you might have a new neighbor. Right. Take over, there's two. Oh, come on, he will. Tell him that guy.
can't you ask how many shared roof owners are here? One per household, and then Trent, you count the, because people are gonna raise their hands that they're shared. You count there, I'll count here. Nancy, yeah, we count, right? I'll count here.
CC. Oh, okay, right. So 6, yeah.
Is it time?
21. Yeah. That's right. I have to tackle it. And they'll be surprised because they won't think that I can do it, right? You can put the box on that job.
That's right.
Tess. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town Hall on shared roofing. Tonight, we're going to focus on shared roofing, the issues with the attached homes. We're going to focus on that and not get sidetracked with other issues. We have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation to go through. We also have with us tonight a roofing expert, Kyle Knopf from Knopf and Associates. He spent his lifetime in the roofing industry. He's third generation in that business. Wealth of knowledge. He's been helpful up to this point. And louder? Okay, I was afraid I was too loud.
The other mics are on, that's why.
How we doing? Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So tonight it's important that we focus on the shared roofing issue. We want to avoid what we see in these photos. We don't want that in Magnolia Bay. We don't want to pull in our gate and see half roofs. The ladies are going to zoom in on those pictures at different points just to remind us why we're here. They didn't have a plan in place, an enforceable plan to avoid that mess. And it greatly affects property values, curb appeals lost, desirability of the entire neighborhood is affected by it. So we'd like to head that off. We're looking, the roofing committee tonight is up here. They worked hard. They're volunteers from the finance committee, the architectural control committee, the long range planning committee, and a couple of board members. So we got some good people working on it that work on multiple committees. What we're going to need tonight is cooperation from everybody and respect for the volunteers. They worked hard to get to this point. We're looking to present the best possible plan. We don't have a perfect plan because there's no such thing in this world, but we'd like to go through this tonight. And please, everyone, hold your questions, comments, suggestions until the very end. We have a question and answer period set aside in the bulletin, in the agenda. After the PowerPoint presentation, we can get to that. If we can move through this quickly without interruptions, we'll have enough time to do that. And you know, maybe we'll have to ration out the time so that one person doesn't eat up most of our time when we get to that point. Anyway, I'd like to introduce Kyle Knopf. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we have a hand raised for every shared roofing unit that's here tonight? Just one per home. One per home. No vote tonight. We're just going to talk. We're just going to talk. We got a count? Okay, great. At this point, I'd like to introduce Kyle Knopf, Knopf Associates, and he's going to go through the reasons why it's best to have the shared roofing re-roofed together by the same roofing company, and the downside of not doing it that way and allowing half roofs.
How are you? My name is Kyle Knopf, and I am a third-generation roofer. I do not know how I lasted this long because of the heat down here in Florida, but this is what we specialize in throughout, you know, large communities like yours, and getting through items that we have here with these half roofs and you know, multiple owners in the same, to get everybody to this, essentially the same in a very quality and long-term roof. So the board's given me a few items that they'd like to go over today, and the first one basically is the importance of re-roofing the attached Capri and Caymans and the shared as one. So when we get into that, we each have a roof mate. And that's not just the roof itself. We have firewalls in there, we have attachments, we have different material assemblies. So as we go in and let's say we want to do a half roof and we hire contractor A, and then a year from now, your neighbor hires contractor B. If they use two different materials, then we have an issue of dissimilarity possible in the center, but we also will have a weak point down our main firewall. With that being said as well, when we put tile back on, depending on how the contractor decides and what you pay for in your proposals, we could have a nail-on system on one side or a foam assembly on the other, meaning we have one quality roof and one on the low end, both meet code, but we're relying on our neighbors and high winds roof performing. One of the issues that we do see over time within the communities like this that want to do half roofs are, in order for me to replace the roof properly on one unit, I have to get into and tie into the second unit. So with that being said, as we go through and we do the half unit of the first point, the next contractor comes in, we're going to be relying on him having to take tile off the other one to do a proper tie-in of our underlayments and making sure everything's sealed back up. Can it be done? Yes. Is it ideal? Absolutely not, because we're going to be relying on the quality of the contractors that we hire or you hire as an individual to get this done. With that being said, by doing it all together, we have the ability to go in and check the attachment of your trusses for the new codes. We have the ability to run the membrane uniform so there's no weak point or joint in our waterproofing membrane in the center of the roofs. As we get into the centers, we have what we call a firewall. That firewall has to extend out. I believe in your case, based on the photos I've seen so far, are drywall. That's screwed to the bottom of the deck. We still have to confirm that. With that being said, if there's any damage in the center, which I believe on these, right now we have a nail-on assembly, which is one of the lower end roof systems, that usually would get put on a community like yours when they're building them. If we have decay and say your neighbor's contractor has to take plywood off on your side, that means we have to open up a bigger area. But 9 out of 10 times when we get into those, we find that firewall has been disturbed. It hasn't been put back. We haven't put back the fire stops. It stops the fire from coming from one unit to the other. So it's something we have to consider with this. And then quality. We could have one roof side, hire a great contractor, comes in, gives great quality. And the next one, cost is always a factor in roofing. We have a much cheaper, contractor come in, and he ties in, and we have a roof leak. So whose responsibility is it? We have to go in there and dissect it at that point to find out if contractor A or contractor B caused the issue. Can it be done? Absolutely, but there's, it's time consuming and there's cost to that. By going one time versus half and half, and you guys can see in the photos, which you'll zoom in on, we'll have one color throughout the entire project. Now, tile's concrete. It's made depending on, effectively the moisture content, humidity in the products, because they're all natural. You will have some color variations, but we won't have solid lines, which you can basically see here, and I'm sure that they'll show this later. Now, I don't know how you all feel about that, but in my opinion, that is just not aesthetically pleasing from my side as a curb appeal aspect. So it's something to really seriously consider. That's part of one of the items that are just maintaining an overall aesthetics. I'm not sure how this would play into. This would have to be something that you would need to talk to from your individual insurer standpoint, but is there an issue with your insurance if we re-roof half a roof today and someone else does it tomorrow? The structure is a structure, so it has to maintain and go through the same general conditions in a high wind event. So if there's loss on your neighbor's roof after you put a new roof on it, we have to get into that. Where's the liability fall in that? Hit all that in a minute. A couple of the downsides they like to talk about is, aesthetics, which we talked about just now. Reduced property values, that would be something that, that's outside of my scope. I can't tell you that will truly happen, but we will have mismatched tiles, colors. One of the other options or issues that we need to also consider is depending on the time frame from replacing roof A to roof B, manufacturers do change color lines. It doesn't happen, in a week or a month, but they do change color lines, so there may be an issue that we may not be able to get the same color as your neighbor. We talked about the curb appeal. One of the issues that we do see all the time too is a lot of the qualified good contractors in the areas, they don't want to re-roof half of a roof because there is a liability of the tie-in in the center, which I definitely agree with them 100% on. It's a major liability, not only for the roofing contractor, but for you as an owner, because you're relying on the next guy to touch your roof, get it sealed in. And so if there's any issues along those lines, again, whose responsibility is it at the end of the day? When we go in and we do that, depending on how they tie it in, and we go over onto the neighboring unit, so we replace unit A and we have to go a foot or 2, 3 feet into unit B, there's liability in that these contractors aren't getting paid for. So this is one of the main reasons why a good contractor doesn't want to touch a half roof. With that being said, when we do our overlap in the center, that becomes a weak point for such as a flashing DTR or anything along those lines. So it's something that we need to consider as you guys move through this process. Another thing they want to talk about is insurance companies issuing with half of a new roof and half of a deteriorated 20-year-old roof, if there's any hang-ups that you guys may have insuring your properties. As we go into this and seeing this over numerous years in this industry, I do not recommend replacing half roofs, and I stay away from it as fast as I can because of the liability, because of just the sheer possibilities of additional leaks and such as we go through the process, and then the long term that we have to deal with them. Most all communities we get into, they get together as a whole and they do a mass project. Part of what the board has asked me to do is provide you guys with a proposal to do specifications, do project management, go through the design process with the board, the roof committee, the association to get through the roofing side of it. That will include if we have to do any type of attachment of the trusses to the tie beams. That'll be firewalls. That'll be re-roofing the deck, providing a specific list of materials and products that we will allow on the site as a basis of design. And then moving through a process, where I will work directly with the board and roof committee to hire a reasonable, qualified local licensed and insurance contractor. With that being said, that's pretty much what they have for me. I'll turn it back over to Robert, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Kyle. We ready to do the PowerPoint presentation?
Kyle is at the state.
Yeah, Kyle, you're good to go, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bernie's going to walk us through the PowerPoint presentation. Once again, please hold all comments, questions, suggestions. We love suggestions, but we're going to have some limited time. Actually, we're doing pretty well on time. So let's go ahead. Bernie, you got it.
Reason why you're saying time is that you have to be out of here by 8:30, so that's the reason for that. So I'm going to go through the PowerPoint. Hopefully all you received it in an email. You may have hopefully gone through and read it. You got the screens here. I'm going to be looking at a screen above you and my notes, so if I'm looking down a little bit, I just got a bunch of stuff I want to make sure I cover with you. So first thing, we're going to just go through, I won't go through what Kyle just explained. You understand, hopefully all of you, that the problem we have right now, all right? These roofs are now 20 years old. They're coming up to a point where they've got to be replaced, and it's just a matter of, do you do it the right way, the wrong way? Do you do it independently? Do you share it with your neighbor? How do we go about handling this? And that's what we've got to figure out here. Cassie, can you go to the next slide? Casey, go to the next slide. All right, so the committee has not come up with any approved plan. We just can't at this point in time. We've come up with 5 different options that we want to review with you and try through tonight to get a consensus, get some of your thoughts on those plans and see which ones we should pursue, which ones we shouldn't pursue. And if anybody has something better, we're here to listen to it and take it under consideration. So let me run through the 5 options that we've come up with that we're now playing with. Casey, go to the next slide. So option 1. Basically, this is the best scenario you can come up with. You and your neighbor understand the situation with the roofs that you share, and you both agree, we got to get this roof replaced. You both agree that you're going to do it. You got to go out and find a contractor together. You're going to decide when you're going to do it, and you're going to share the cost. Best scenario whatsoever. But I'll bet the majority of the shared roof people don't have that type of cooperation with their neighbors, and maybe your neighbor just makes an assumption that, well, I don't need a new roof at this point in time. My insurance company told me I got another 5 years on it. But me, your neighbor, has just been told by an insurance company, I'm not getting any insurance until I replace my roof. Now we got a dilemma, okay? So that's the best scenario of all. Option 2, next slide. Option 2 is now you've got to replace your roof. You've had a roofing contractor in. He's determined he can't fix all these leaks. You got an insurance company that says, I'm not insuring you unless you get a new roof, and you can't get any cooperation from your neighbor to share that situation, which means that now you've got to go out and do a half roof. First go to the ACC and deal with the problems there. Go find your own roofer, pick the appropriate tiles, and get the work done. And you've heard from Kyle tonight the problems you are going to have, probably will have, and the situations where it's not only just replacing the underlayment and the plywood, but it's getting that roof opened up and properly tying the entire roof down to the system, the roofing system, to make sure it could withstand hurricane and meet Florida code. There could be an issue with Florida code if we can't open up that whole roof and make sure the whole roof is tied down properly at the time you're doing the roof. So we got a problem here. Aesthetically, it doesn't look good. Home values, it doesn't look good. It's just not a situation, as you can see from the pictures, that we just may not want in the community. Option 3. Option 3 is maybe we come up with some sort of system where the homeowners can't agree, but maybe we, through the governing documents, put some amendments in that require some sort of mediation. What that means, we have no idea. It doesn't mean we hire a roofing inspector who comes in and the roofing inspector makes a determination that the roof needs to be replaced, and now we have to get both parties in the room and try to get something settled on how we're going to go about doing this situation. But we just don't know at this point in time. We haven't played with this one that much, but it's an option that we found in the governing documents of another DeVosner property. The problem is they haven't put it into play yet. It's in their documents, but it hasn't come into play yet. So how they mandate this arbitration or mediation, how they then force the person who doesn't want to do the roof to do the roof, that's not, we don't know at this point in time. So option 4 is that we turn the situation over to the board, just like the painting situation. The board then comes to the shared roof owners and says, I'm just throwing out a date, by December 31st of 2024, the shared roof owners must replace their roofs. No ifs, ands, or buts. And here's the implications of that. Here's how you're going to go about doing it. And both neighbors got to get together, come to some sort of conclusion of timing, the roofer they're going to hire, and get the roof done by a certain date in order to avoid certain types of penalties. Again, we found another DeVosner community that does something similar to that, but again, it has not come into play yet. So no one knows how this sort of situation will play itself out. Okay? Option 5. Option 5 gets back to what we've been talking about over the last couple of months, in which the association takes responsibility for replacing the roofs, and we transfer responsibility to the association. This way, the association, there's a simple amendment to the governing documents to do it. The association finds the roofing contractor, hires the Kyle Knopf to oversee the project, make sure the installations go properly. Everything is done within a 6-month period. Everything is uniform. Homeowners don't have to worry about everything because everything will be taken care of. Next slide, Casey. And the amendments, option 5, where the association takes responsibility, is a simple amendment. But our problem in this community, and I hate to say it, there's an apathy problem. And thank God all of you here and really appreciate it. But we need 96 votes, 51% of the community, to pass any amendment regarding this thing. And that means there's 88 shared roof owners. You'd have to get all of them, plus a handful of the single-family homes to vote for this thing. First of all, to even get the vote, but then vote with approval for it. So it's a very difficult situation in this community to do that. Casey, next slide. So 2 ways this project could be funded. And we've talked about this briefly, and you've heard about it. Is the association goes out and gets bank financing for whatever the cost of to replace the shared roofs. And the special assessment is put on the members on a monthly basis over the term of the loan, and you pay, every shared roof owner pays that monthly assessment. All right. The other option is we just, again, the association takes over responsibility, but there's only one amount, one special assessment, $25,000, one-time fee you pay by a certain date to pay for the roofs, and then we'll start the projects. And we collect basically all the money up front to do the projects. All right. Next slide, Casey. This is the bank financing thing. There's a lot of issues with the bank financing situation. It's been noted a number of times what some of the problems are. I'll get into that shortly. But we have talked to banks that are willing to do it. Interest rates are not favorable to us nowadays. There's the question whether they'll do it over a 10-year term or 15-year term to show the assessment and everybody. Casey, next slide. Pros and cons of the financing is, one, you get to spread the cost over the whole term of the loan. All right. So if it's a 15-year loan, you spread the cost over 15 years. If you decide to sell your unit and in the interim before that, within say 5 years, the new homeowner takes over your payments and you don't have to worry about it, so therefore you don't have to pay for it. But there are many cons. All right. And the cons is that if you decide to stay in the unit for the next 15 years, in effect, you're going to pay double the price of the roof because of the interest cost tied to the loan. All right, so a $25,000 roof is going to cost you probably $50,000. The monthly assessment could be a burden on some people on top of the monthly maintenance fees, quarterly maintenance fees we pay. It eliminates our ability to borrow money for any future projects that may come up in the community. You know, you would never get a loan for, say, a hurricane damage situation. Very unlikely. If that ever happens and we get a bad storm this year or the following years, we're all going to be assessed the total cost of the cleanup situation. But there may be projects that come up. But one of the things we have to do as a board is make sure we start putting our finances in order, start reserving money so that we don't have to go out and borrow in the future. But it could rise. And then the unit owners who don't pay the assessment, we're going to have to go through a foreclosure procedure with them and a collection procedure. And there is a way that people can get out of these type of assessments by declaring bankruptcy. But there's a whole implications for a person declaring bankruptcy on top of that. Next slide, Casey. The one-time special assessment, it avoids the needs of going through this whole bank situation. One of the problems that we could have with the bank situation is just qualifying based on our finances, based on the amount of quarterly maintenance fee that we pay, the debt service that we'd have to take on the 187 units here. It could be a problem. We have not gone to the banks yet, not supplied our information, but there could be, the banks could come back and say, you're not a decent risk. We won't go into the money. And then the other problem with the special assessment, the cons to that is that it's a one-time hit of $25,000 that people are going to come up. One way or the other, you're coming up with it, because when it comes time to replace your roof, you're either going to do it one way or the other, all right? And you're going to have to come up with the money to pay the thing. And then paying it all up front, if you decide to sell the unit, hopefully your home values will go up with a new roof, but you're just basically paying for the roof that the previous owner used and the future owner is going to use, and you're moving out of the community. Okay, next thing. So those are the 5 options that we've come up with, and this is what we want to try to discuss tonight. 4 of those options are terrible. 4 of them often have every flaw in the world that we can all think of. It's obvious flaws. I'd like to stay away from the flaw situation on those things tonight because we all know what they are. What we want to try to get out of everybody today is what is the thinking of the community regarding these shared roofs? Does anybody have a solution that we haven't thought about? We could come and bitch and moan and complain here tonight about any one of these options, but that's not helping the situation, all right? We know 4 of these options are flawed. The only good one is we have a great neighbor who has the same mindset as us, and they're going to go and do the roof along with us, and we don't live in a perfect world. Sorry, we don't. So I'd like to turn it over to questions. We're going to have a mic that's going to go around. Please speak into the mic, because the people on Zoom want to hear the questions, and we'll take some notes, and hopefully we'll turn this into a productive session tonight. And anybody have, first of all, before we do that, anybody have any questions on what I said or don't understand?
I saw a hand over here.
My name's Greg Liebman. I'm firmly in favor of HOA control of the shared roof program. I think we're at a major turning point, as our future will be very different if we fail to come together at this time. We've lived here for 8 years and have seen plenty of dissension. It is time to put that aside and do something together which as individuals we'll never achieve. There's also a high degree of urgency required. The re-roofing prices currently quoted are much lower than they would be in the event of a hurricane sweeping South Florida. The last storm to do significant damage in South Florida was Wilma in 2005. At that time, we were living in Jupiter and lost 100 roof tiles. That storm was very weakened when it hit us. If that were happen now to Magnolia Bay, those 100 roof tiles would not be available, as there is not a bulk source for our particular tile. 19 years without a hurricane hit is a long time, and we do not know when it will next strike Palm Beach. While being firmly in favor, we also have doubts as to the board being given leeway as to when and how to implement the re-roofing project. Our vote should only be in the affirmative if the board has executed a contract with a roofing company, so our vote is just a confirmation and approval of that contract. We would want to see a quoted price and, of course, an indication of the bulk savings we have achieved. The timing of the project should automatically start immediately after a yes vote is recorded. This way, the board cannot change anything. Lauren and I would seek our own financing, as we can do it cheaper than the HOA. We think that most of our neighbors feel the same way. But for those folks who are unable to do that, HOA financing is a must. I doubt that many people will take advantage of the HOA financing. Where did that overblown number of $2.5 million come from? Thank you.
Yeah. Who is next?
My name is Valerie. I'm new to the community. I purchased just slightly over 2 years ago, just moved in. I think you guys did a great job. I have a concern, and forgive me if I'm ignorant and it's already been discussed before, but being new, in the communication that was emailed, there were samples of tiles to look at, and my question is, there was a comment made to maintain the aesthetic beauty of the development when it was built back in 2004. I understand that, and I understand the tiles are nice, but it's 24 years later, there's new technology, and is the board looking at newer roofs, different kinds of, not the same barrel tiles, there's flat barrel tiles, there's the metal roof, so what's going to be better to help with insurance? Okay, you guys have mandated that we get these umbrella policies for insurance, and I just want to make sure, has the board looked at broad spectrum to make sure, again, I purchased here because it is beautiful, so I don't want to take the beauty away, and I know that there's an architectural committee and I'm trying to catch up to speed. However, I just want to make sure that, you know, again, I'm sure many of us here are not driving a car from 25 years ago, because the cars that were built 25 years ago didn't have Bluetooth and didn't have Sirius and didn't have all this other stuff. So again, I just want to reiterate that, is this same barrel tile, this same look, what's best for the bang for the buck? And again, sorry that I'm new, but that's how I feel.
Okay, Valerie, can you hear me? Okay. The communities was built in 2004. It's 20 years old. We're not at 25 yet. The original covenants.
Rob, they can't hear you very well.
Yes, I am a shared group, sorry.
Okay, what?
The mic's not on.
The mic's not on? So the original documents, our covenants, all of our engineering drawings require concrete barrel tile. They were originally approved when the community was built, and they're in our documents. Back in August, we put it before the board and the ACC, and rather than change all the documents, the engineering drawings, the community decided to stay with the barrel tile because we like the way it looks. And the underlayment is the culprit. The tiles we have now, they're manufactured by a company, Pioneer, and they're discontinued. The company's no longer in business. We can't match them. So we went with the Eagle barrel tiles. The strength of the roof is in the underlayment system. Right now we have tar paper with hot mop. It's old school. It's only good for 18 to 20 years. I live in a Capri. I had my first leak in 2018. That was $1,000. They replaced the sheet of plywood, put the tiles back. And I had another one this year, about 6 months ago. That was almost $2,000. Another sheet of plywood and stain sealing in our master bedroom. And they're starting to fail throughout the community. I've talked to a good number of people that have leaks that are going down into the walls. They didn't realize until the water came out, running out from the wall. Yeah, well, yeah, it could be that. But anyway, the strength is in the underlayment system, and there's all new code for that. There's a rubberized asphalt. It's thick. It's so much better than tar paper. It's rated for high temperatures, and it's fastened down in a way that will withstand higher wind speeds than anything else. Did I answer your question? Yes.
I guess my questions are directly more toward the board than the general pop. My name is Copeland, and I live in the townhome section. Been here about 5 years, I guess, but I'm only a part-timer. I'm here 6 months, north 6 months, getting ready to leave now, actually. But I understand that there was a reserve for roofs that was set up originally back in 2004. Those monies are not there any longer. Where did they go? Which might be that question to the board. And why, knowing that this was going to come at some point, haven't you or didn't you set up a reserve to be prepared for this? My thought is, this is not a problem of the barrel tiles themselves. Those have a lifespan that go beyond 20 years, well beyond 20 years, as a matter of fact. It's the underlayment that seems to be the issue. And maybe not every home has that underlayment problem. Maybe some have peel and stick, a better quality. We don't know. But why don't we set up the reserves starting now and deal with the problems as they arise, so it's not a big hit financially to all the owners.
Okay, I can answer part of that question, even though I've only been here 5 years. Even if the association was putting roof money away, which I don't believe they were, they had no authority to spend it anyway. The governing documents right now say we shared homeowners are responsible for our own roofs. And so they couldn't have done anything with the money, so it's doubtful they would have collected the money at all. And then also Kyle taught us, based on his knowledge of the DeVosta units that have been built in the city, they've all been built the same way. And they're just tar paper with, basically paper with tar, hot mop, and that's the way all DeVosta properties were built.
We'll come back if everybody else gets a chance.
Can we not rebuttal everyone, just hear their comments? 'Cause we don't need to be sold. You just need to hear what we think.
Okay. My name is Jim Vandenberg. I'm at 5035 Magnolia Bay Circle. Somehow, maybe I'm just dreaming, but I thought we voted on a remedy back when John was still president, that if a roof had to be replaced, we had to do the whole thing. What happened to that information?
Can I answer that question? Sure. All right. First of all, there was no authority that the board could determine that. There was no authority. Our governing documents say we, as shared roof owners, are responsible for our own roof. No, no.
No.
Hi, my name is Maria Sanquini Friedman. Shared roof owner. And I think we've had the unit, my sister and I, for around 5 years. So I'm speaking as a banker for the past 48 years. And I've also been on the board to a condo association, although I'm not an expert. But some of the questions I have to do with when you do finally arrive at whatever option we're going to take, and we do have to go ahead and get financing. I know that you'd have to look to a couple of banks. Some banks are in favor of lending to an HOA, some are not. But if you were to look for, you said 88 owners, how are you going to have the bank qualify 88 owners? What collateral, what guarantee are they going to have that they would loan $2.5 million? Because they're looking to individual owners versus, the condo I was at prior, they did have reserves, but it was a different situation. But they had some reserves, and they did have the assessments, and they did vote on the assessments and how much they would be, so forth and so on. So I'm curious about that, because I don't think they're going to look to 88 people as to qualify for the loan.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, I would also be happy to assist if you do get to that point in time. Just let you know.
So to answer this question, the bank would not loan 88 people money. It goes, the association borrows the money. And the collateral that the association puts up is the special assessment and the association's right to foreclose on your unit and sell your unit to make up the money that's owed the bank. Okay, so that's where the collateral comes.
Hello, folks. My name is Richard Sorge. I live on Grassleaf. I moved in here in 2004, in July. October of 2004, we had 2 hurricanes. In 2005, we had 2 hurricanes in October. The only damage I had in the first hurricane was 1 tile slid off the roof, and Grosky was the one that put all the roofs on our houses here. I got in touch with him. He charged me $75 to put a nail in. And I said, I don't have any coverage. You just put the roofs on. So one of his guys forgot to put a nail in. Well, make a long story short, these tile roofs are good for 40 years. And the reason I think everybody's having a huff to replace a roof is because they're getting pressured from the insurance companies. Now, I have AAA. I pay $4,000 a year for my insurance. If you want to go on an assessment, I can understand that for future, but we have at least minimum 5 years to 10 years without having to replace a roof. And God forbid, you replace your roof, and the following year you have a terrific hurricane. Now you're going to pay your 2% toward your insurance. For some people, it might be $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. And then the insurance company is going to replace the roof. So why are we getting all worried up about, replacing roofs now? You take an assessment, put some money aside, because we can all benefit from that. And then, God forbid, we have hurricanes, let the insurance company take care of it. Or there's one other option. You might think it's far left, but why not be self-insured? Cassie took down all our insurance information to make sure we had the replacement value. we can pay the same rates that we're paying presently to our insurance companies, but pay it to the association. The first year you'll take in about $800,000. The second year you double that. You take that money, you invest it in a bank, with CDs, you'll make $30,000 a year. That's another solution. So, but if you were talking about the homeowners, you know, having to pay the roofs, the neighbors, I have one question for you. Let's say one homeowner, but his neighbor doesn't. So right now he can use his insurance to pay most of the roof. But what about the other person who doesn't have damage? They got to pay the $25,000 for the roof? How do we compensate that person? Okay.
But we got to correct some information that's erroneous. Yes, the tiles will last 40, 50, whatever years that they've gone. The underlayment and the plywood underneath, that's your real roof, will only last 18, 20 years at the most. And this is being proved out in Palm Beach Gardens, at other DeVoster properties, the Catalina Lakes that went through and did their roofs over, that the paper flaked off when they opened up the tile situation. So we got to be careful here. And the insurance companies, you see it in the news constantly, they're getting to a point where it's 15, 20 years at the most, they're going to go with your roofs, and they're not going to give you insurance. Now, if you have a mortgage on your unit and you can't get insurance, the mortgage company is going to be knocking at your door. So we got to be careful on that these roofs will last much longer. They are not going to last much longer, all right? You're either going to have the leaks, it could be a few years, but you're going to definitely have the insurance company eventually knocking at your door, all right?
Hi, Larry Torf, one grass leaf, that's an option 3 and 4 you laid out. You know, we don't play our lawyer by the words. The complicated part's manageable. And option 3 or 4 kind of would put teeth into the bylaws to make sure we do replace the roofs for those, frankly, I think very few people that wouldn't come together on a common plan, but it would help deal with those few.
Linda O'Donnell. I reside on Bontia, no shared roof. I think Bernie hit the nail on the head very early on when he said one way or another, we're going to have to pay for. I do not want to be penalized, if that's the right word, for bank financing for shared roofs for people that can't come together or can't afford it. I don't expect the homeowners association to come forward and finance my roof. I expect I finance my roof or I go to the bank and finance the roof. If I have a neighbor that is not willing to handle the situation with the roof, then I hire an attorney, they hire an attorney, but you don't get the whole community involved. I think the roofing committee and I think the board works hard enough and they don't need to get involved in shared roofs. My recollection a year and a half ago was a roofing committee was formed. The purpose of the roofing committee was to agree on tiles because especially those with shared roofs were starting to have problems and they had to resolve the tiles were not in stock. This has taken on a life all its own. We're talking about financing, we're incurring legal fees. I'm voting for everybody's on their own.
Good evening, my name is Michael Rack. I live in the townhouses in a shared roof, obviously. On a positive note, I am for option 1 and or option 3. I think a lot of us could probably come together and come to some kind of agreement and notarize it and maybe satisfy the board's requirements at that point. And if not, I'm sure everybody can't do that, but if not, there'd be some arbitration. I've heard several claims here tonight. Our 20-year-old roofs are at the end of their life. Insurance companies are requiring replacement of a roof 20 years or older. And what I think is one of the main, and it's a legitimate reason, half roofs, which I hope no one here is for, the replacement. However, I haven't seen any solid evidence to substantiate those first two. Truth is, in Florida, 2023 passed a law, 627.7011, what makes it illegal for an insurance company to refuse to issue or not renew a policy based on roof age, or there's a valid inspection by an authorized inspector indicating that the roof has 5 or more years of useful life. My particular State Farm agent, I called him up and asked him that exact question as to when my roof would be shaky on those terms, and he said to call him back in about 10 years. Looking up my property at 2004 DeVasta. If you go on the Citizens website, largest insurer in Florida, and go to their inspections pull down, they consider a tile roof to be old at 50 years old, not 20. And at that point, they require a new qualified 5-year inspection. And I personally had a pick of, I'm not bragging because none of it's good, of 3 different insurance companies this year. And one other thing to close on, I don't like the fact that there's no estimated costs presented here so far. And hopefully there's not a vote that gets for the amendment change before people have to vote on that. Because at that point it's kind of too late. It's essentially would be like handing over a blank check.
Hi, my name's Mary Sue. I'm in a shared roof. I just need some clarification. Hopefully you'll be allowed to answer my question. Option 3, 4, and 5, does that allow me to pay, we'll just call it cash? Or if you say there's financing, I have to get financing? That's what I'm just confused about. Is there always the opportunity for me to pay in full? Okay, great, thank you.
My name is Terry Hall, and I also am a shared roof. Closer. I kind of resent the opinion of someone on their own. We are an HOA. It's for the betterment of the whole community, not one homeowner who thinks that they should be able to replace their roof when they want to. I mean, when we moved in here, we didn't move in as a single homeowner. We moved in as an HOA. And I think we have to come together as one and do something good for the community.
Hi, my name is Darlene Roberts. Hopefully I'm not too loud because I'm told I'm loud sometimes. I live in a townhome at 4517 Elysium Drive. I've been here since 2012. I want to start out by asking all of the homeowners that are present or may be listening on Zoom one quick question. Does anyone else think that it's fair that the majority of the members that will be voting on the amendment are not subject to the assessments or mandatory new roof? I have a problem with that. I don't like that idea. My home is the biggest investment, and I plan to be in full control of any decisions I make regarding any repairs or maintenance to it. I think I'm speaking for most of us. For most of us, when I say we do not want the HOA, the board, your current board or any other board, to be in control for any expense that may be a generic solution right now to a so-called problem that anybody's yet to prove.
In fact, my insurance agent, Robert Gamer, he's out of Boca, if anybody wants his number, he's a great agent. He's done great for me for as far as rates, specifically stated that it's not the age of the roof. In fact, it's the number of useful years left on the roof. So if anybody tells you any different, that's incorrect. My adjoining neighbor and I have had 2 wind mitigations. I don't like talking in front of people, so if I'm shaking, that's why. Okay. Okay. So we've had 2 wind mitigations done within the last 2 years. My most recent one was done September of 2023 because I looked into the My Florida home, whatever, that $10,000 credit. Shared roofs are not allowed to get for the roofs, only single family homes. Okay, I already looked into that and I don't qualify anyway. I got windows, but I don't qualify. So anyway, but they both said, the last guy that came in 2023 said that my roof was good for at least 20 years. He stated that because it was a DeVosta-built home in 2004, okay, they did have codes involved then, he said there's some of the best built roofs in Palm Beach County, okay? So I understand the underlayment, but he had to go and do 88 inspections that day. I was one of the 88 that he had to do, and he said DeVosta homes are one of the best, okay? And he's been an inspector for 20 plus years. Okay, so, and then when the time comes, I could take out a second mortgage, and those interest fees on the second mortgage would be tax deductible for me. The assessments from the HOA, I can't deduct those on my taxes. So why do I want to take out something that the HOA wants to do? Then with interest rates, I don't know, I'm old enough to know when they were high, the interest rates are at their highest that they've been in 20 years. I don't think it's a good time to take out such a large loan with the HOA or with the home equity at this point. I already looked into it. I'm not going to pay 7.5%. I'm not doing it. It's ridiculous. And also with the possibility of a looming recession coming in 2025, I don't feel comfortable adding an additional $1,200 plus, it could be, to my quarterly dues every quarter. I just don't feel that that's necessary. So I just think, too, it's extremely risky for the community to be putting us into so much debt at this point. And then I would like to remind all the homeowners that everyone, not just the shared roofs, will be on the hook for this loan, okay? I think a couple of you have already addressed that. This will affect my home value in a negative way. When I first started to look to purchase, and I purchased in Mag Bay because I really liked it, and I liked the community, I love the community. I looked in Ibis, the homes were cheap, they were gorgeous, they were cheap. Well, they had huge assessments. You had to buy into tennis or whatever the clubs were. So potential investors look at the debt that a community has. I know I do. I mean, finance is my background. So I'm totally not in favor of what we call a simple amendment that this board is asking for. Nothing is simple, okay? I, as a homeowner, want full control of my expenditures, not what? I haven't repeated myself. I'm reading. You can read it if you want. I'm not repeating myself. So this doesn't sit well with me. And one thing I'd like to add, especially having this roof expert that was here, Kyle Knopf or whatever, and then somebody said on the board that he would be the one doing the project. It's kind of interesting that he's going to come in and tell us all of the negative things. That's large gross profits for him. Just saying. Now I'm done. And I don't think anybody is looking to do half the roof. That's what I finally want to say. Of course, aesthetically, it's ridiculous.
All right, we heard some comments about how long a barrel tile roof lasts that was put on by DeVosta subcontractor. None of those comments explain what happened in these communities that are just a few years older than us. Most of these are from Riverwalk. They were built 2000, 2001, 99, and there's a lot of half roofs you can see in the pictures. I'm sorry, I can't hear you at this point. The ACC doesn't have the authority to intervene on that. They wouldn't like it, but the comments about these roofs lasting 40, 50 years, it's not happening. We've witnessed in so many communities, Riverwalk, Lost Lake, the Retreat. Yeah, you know, we listen to you. We listened to you for a while, okay? We listened to you for a while, so now I'm speaking. Every other community, when it hits the 20-year point, they start to experience roof failures. And if you don't have a plan, this is what you're going to look like. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. We've witnessed it in 5 or 6 local DeVosta-built communities. The tar paper doesn't last. It doesn't last. And I talked to the city manager of Palm Beach Gardens, the head building inspector. They said Catalina Lakes was the best run project they've ever witnessed. It went smooth. Catalina Lakes had the assessment over 20 years. They waited a little too long when the roofing contractor and Kyle got in there. Kyle was the project manager they choose. He's got a good track record. Okay, you don't like him, that's fine. I talked to the contractor, the project manager for the contractor, not Kyle. I talked to their property manager. When the roofing company arrived, there was tarps and sandbags on a good many of the roofs in there. They were already failing. And that was Catalina Lakes. They're right in the same town. Okay, well then you know the story. That's enough now, okay? We got
I just want to make sure we're clear on this thing. The association, the board, this committee is not backing any one of these proposals. These are options that we have been putting on the table and discussing. We are not going to banks to finance any money. Probably, you know, I originally raised it. To tell you the truth, I'm against it at this point in time. I'd rather see some sort of assessment. I'd rather see the individuals come to agreement and do their own roofs. So please, what I want to make sure we don't walk away from, you heard different things. This guy told me the roof is going to last 10 years more. This guy's told me it's going to be a 20-year roof. If we keep on putting our heads in the sand and the shit hits the fan eventually and we don't have a plan, we're all going to be screwed. So what we're trying to work out at this point is put a plan together so that when it comes time to do our shared roofs, we have a uniform plan to do it, okay? That's the purpose of this whole thing.
Can you hold that? Because we'll get back to you because you already spoke. Okay. Wait. No, we do. Yeah, we're going in order.
Hi, Dawn Preble, 5083 in a Capri shared roof. I just had a comment. If option 1 worked, that would be wonderful, but I think that's a nirvana. That is not going to work in a lot of cases. I like option number 5, and the one thing I would just like to say, I've worked in the insurance industry for 30 years, 25 years as an underwriter. Florida is an insurance crisis. We're at a point now, these roofs are 20 years. The one thing someone brought up that you have to get something, that's if your roof is over 15 years, you have a wind person come in and look, and then you have them say your roof still has life in it. We don't want to get to a point, you want to protect yourself from an insurance company being able to non-renew you and deny you coverage due to the age of your roof. It's a major reason. So that's just my comment. And I would rather finance myself. I think everybody likes to handle their own money. So.
My name is Carol Patton. I live in Capri 3, and I am a responsible homeowner, and all of us at one time or another have been a professional. We all take care of our homes. Magnolia Bay is beautiful. I don't see any home that's in disrepair. And I think that the shared roof responsibility should be option 1. If I can't talk to my neighbor and reach an agreement, it's a pretty sad day. I will agree that if my neighbor and I want to get my roofs repaired, we can submit to the board who we're going to get and where we're going to get. I don't like the idea of being assessed. I mean, that one option was 10 to 15 years alone, and if it's put in your name, I can't write it off my taxes, $25,000. Well, I'd rather do that than have it under the association's finance. But I think that's up to me and my shared.
It would be those that would not be able to afford it. It's never going to be $2.5 million. That's 100%. It'd just be those that could not.
But I feel like that as an owner in option 1.
But we would probably.
It's up to me.
We
the board can approve
are
what I
leaning
do.
more towards having everybody find their own financing, a home equity line of credit. Anyone that's been here since pandemic has seen an increase in equity in their homes.
Well, I'd prefer that to
Yeah,
having
and I think we would prefer that too.
In other words, if you have assessment every month, that's not. I mean,
No,
my
we
roof
would
might
we
not
would
be
we would
replaced for
prefer
10
that
years.
too. We'd prefer that.
I mean, if you assess me every month and my roof doesn't get replaced until 3 years down the road, I'm giving you money for nothing because my roof
That's
is still.
not going to happen.
Well, I hope not. I mean, I'd rather work with my neighbor and get it approved and have the board approve it or submit it
Right.
to some kind of committee first.
Right.
We're all adults.
Okay.
I know, I'm going a second time. So I have some additional questions. So with option number 1, you're talking about homeowners would decide. So then I'm sure that somebody would have to approve which roofing contractor would be used, correct? No. Would there be a list of preferred roofing contractors?
No.
Okay,
No,
so
but if
then
you do this, you're on your own.
you're on your own. Okay, I'm fine with that. Number 5, I'm sorry, number 5. The danger of number 5 if the association goes ahead. I mean, this other project, and it was a little while ago, they ran into overruns. So it got charged more. There were a lot of issues with the roof that was put on. Actually, it had to be replaced after 15 years because that contractor didn't work out. So don't we deal with the danger of that, where the 2.5 million may not really be 2.5 million because they run into other issues when they open up the roofs and find something else, and then they're going to say, oh no, this is going to cost an additional XYZ.
So just to answer that question, the way the specs would be written is the contractor would basically tell us that within your bid, we're going, I think one of the bids we will place 30 pieces of plywood, and we'll put so much flashing, and we'll do so much underlayment and so forth. Anything above and beyond that, so if your half of the roof, let's assume that it's 30 pieces of plywood, 15 per side. If your side of the roof required 20 pieces, you're going to pay the extra 5 pieces of plywood as another assessment against you on top of the main assessment. So, because it just generally it may not have to be, but you know, if it does, it does. But it may not have to be. You know, why spend money if we don't have to spend it? So, but what I'm trying to make a point is that there's specs that say we'll do this much. If it goes beyond that, then the homeowner who has to take a little bit more is going to have to pay for it.
So there is an additional cost that could incur with option number 5, then is what you're saying. But number 1 is you're on your own, and then there's no liability or accountability or anything held against the homeowner depending on who they hired. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple of questions, but because we don't want to, there are questions from Zoom, and it has to do with a couple of questions regarding the financing through the bank, even the special assessment. We do run the risk that if a homeowner can't pay it and we have to go through the foreclosure, there may be situations where we may not be able to recoup our money. we have to then build in who then pays the difference because that homeowner could. That's one of the considerations we would have to think. If the association was to take on, is on option 5, take over the responsibility of this situation. So that is a concern. And then there was a question about the savings and insurance. I would very much doubt you're going to get any savings insurance in this insurance market right now. But what it does do is give you peace of mind that your roof has been checked out right from underneath everything, that everything is tied down properly, that the roof has been put on properly, and that if a hurricane does hit us, that hopefully the roof will hold out.
Okay, my name is Pam Waters. I live in the townhouses. I'm with Linda on this. This has taken a life of its own. I don't need a new roof. And if I did need a new roof, I will get my own. I do appreciate people reaching out, but I don't think this is a crisis. I have a question. When did you decide on what kind of roofs we're going to have? The barrel tile roofs. When did you make that decision? No.
Willing to consider any other materials, or are we going to run with the covenants?
It slipped past me because I never remember that.
Maybe it was after you stepped off
because
the board.
there are people in this development that would appreciate having a flat tile roof. You know, and I don't think it was your part or anyone else's part to decide on what kind of roofs we should have. That's number one. Number two, the past board decision, as you had asked about, we had talked about when I was on the board that we would have an agreement between two neighbors. If for some reason the neighbors did not agree, then it would go in front of the board. The board would make a decision as to if that was going to have to happen. And if that was going to have to happen, then the roof was going to be replaced and the assessment was going to be against the person who was not going to be a participant in this. That's how we were going to do that. I don't know why we can't go back to something as reasonable as that rather than a forced roof. And a $2.5 million loan in the development here, I must say, is going to be a detriment to our home values. When someone is going to be coming in to purchase a place here, they're going to ask what the assessments are. And if you're talking about a $2,500 quarter assessment plus a $2.5 million loan on the development, it's not going to be pretty. I don't know where the proof is as far as the roofs. I've talked to different people also over the past couple of weeks with this started building. And everyone I'm talking to between Pulte and my insurance company is, I don't know that you have a problem here. Now, I owned in Catalina, and I know what Catalina is. That was built in 2000. Who knows? They might have had better products now. But right now, I've had my place also looked at in the last 6 years, I think, twice. And both times, I have been given a good stamp of approval on my roof. As far as roof reserves, no. There was never any roof reserve for Magnolia Bay. And I'll just say this one last thing. I don't want a new roof. And when I do need a new roof, I will get my own roof. But I don't want a $2.5 million loan against Magnolia Bay.
One more than you.
Marie Mandeville, I live on Dove Hill. I don't have a shared roof. Just one quick question. Where exactly do we go forward now? This was, as I understand, an informational type of workshop, and I'd be interested in knowing what the committee's plans are or the process. And also, I would like to verify that your meetings as the roof committee are open to all of the owners. Is that not true?
Because it's an ad hoc committee, it's not. But I don't think we're going to throw anybody out in the street.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, yes.
It happened. It happened last week.
Yeah. There's only, by the way, in the association, there's only 2 meetings that have to be open. One is the board meeting and one is the ACC. Those are the only 2 that have to be open. All the rest can be closed. So, you made a good point. What was it? Oh, where do we go from here? So my thought, I'll just give you my thought process. I think we need to get more information from the shared roof people. And the thought is maybe put a survey together that's not slanted, that's an open type survey that we can get better feedback from the shared roof people on what preferences they really have. It's obvious, you know, that we've heard you don't want the financing, and I'll agree with you on that one. But we got to get more information and study this a lot more and come to some consensus. The thing is, like I said, let's not stick our head in the sand. We need a plan, and we got to put a plan together that we can all come to agreement with, because it is going to require possibly amendment to the governing documents depending on which way we go. You know, and one of the questions I see in the survey, do you honestly believe that you and your neighbor could come to a conclusion and decide to get your roofs done at the same time? You know, well, that's good. If you do, that's great if you have a great neighbor, but I'm sure that may not be, but anyway.
Let's go here, and then I'll be right over. Just a quick one. I'm still Copeland, and I'm still in the townhomes. But I tend to agree with a lot of the comments that are made here that that the financing should be done by individuals and not by the board. I think the board is taking on too much responsibility and liability to get involved with that kind of financing. I am a former banker, and I'll tell you from experience, you want to step away from that when and if you can. Leave it up to us as individuals.
Ron Jangard, Eugenia Drive. Any survey should go out to every homeowner, not just the shared homes. Because if you're just looking for, 88 homes, and then a few unshared homes, you know, you're kind of stacking the deck. You know, I'm totally against number 5.
Hi, my name is Louis Caprio. My wife Elizabeth. We've just recently bought into Magnolia Bay. We're on Dove Hill, and we have a single home, not attached. I just want to offer my suggestion here. I think the woman over here that came up with the idea of the shared roofs, it probably should be focused more with shared roof homes initially, find out what, you know, I think people want to do. But I think really when it comes down to a roof, there's no question about when you're going to do a roof, it's got to be done all at once. It cannot be done separately. That would be a disaster for the other person, and that would be unfair to the community and to the individual. So I think what was suggested is if it's not agreed upon by the two homeowners, then it goes to the board makes a decision, and that decision goes forward. The individual homeowners will take care of their own roofs. You're going to choose for us what we're going to be able to pick, whether it be roof, flat, whatever it might be. I think that's where the board can be very helpful to make it easier for us. But I think the financing, I think everybody has shared their opinion. It's more about the individual taking care of their own roof financially. That's it. Thank you.
Richard again. My question is directed to the board. We're basically the stepchild of the Isles. That's DeVoster's signature community. Before 2004, 2003, that's where you went to pick out your model house for Magnolia Bay. And when we did the painting of our homes in Mag Bay, they reached out for the Isles about their painting and who they used, and we went along with that. Has anybody reached out for the Isles to see if they have any problems with their roofing, and are they getting more worried about roofs?
We have. We've spoken to the property manager there. We had hoped to learn from what the Isles was doing with their plan, and they never shared a plan with us. They don't have one in place. They don't have half roofs in there yet, but I don't think they have a solid plan to avoid it. They were built, I think, 2 years or 3 years before us. 3 years. They've actually been asking us what our plan is. What are we working on? As well as with the oak trees. That's off the subject, but.
This year or next year we have a hurricane, and then all of a sudden we got to replace the roof, the insurance company. Then we can kick back the assessment to the homeowner to help pay their deductible. So you hold the money in abeyance.
It sounds like most here are against any kind of an assessment, blanket assessment, and maybe the way to go is for homeowners to obtain their own financing. But that doesn't. We can go with that, but still we need to head off these half roofs because it'll ruin the aesthetics in our community.
Hi, my name is Esther DiMarzio. I live in a Carlisle, so it's not a shared roof. I'd like to thank the committee because I know you've put in a lot of hours. You've thought a lot of this through. I know I've had some discussions with some of the committee members, so I know you're not just coming here and throwing things out. However, I would also like to say that it looks like most people are against option number 5, and I am as well. I think that the HOA should not be a bank financing the homeowners. And I also agree that the shared roof owners should vote on whatever affects them. However, if it's financing that affects the rest of us, we should have a say in that as well. Because, for example, if the HOA is going to finance the shared homeowners, when I have to replace my roof, is the HOA going to finance my roof? You know, am I going to be able to come to the HOA for a loan just like the shared homeowners are doing? I have a question. I know there was a lot of discussion about the tiles and the type of tiles, and a lot of thought was put into that too, I know. But something has come to my attention. I don't know how correct the information is, but I was made aware that the current tile that was selected is heavier than the former tile that was put on the roof, and I just want to make sure that the fact that it's now a heavier roof does not affect the home's structure. So if that was not considered, because none of us, I think, are engineers, maybe someone should look into that, because I would be concerned to put a heavier tile on my roof if that's going to then cause damage later on. I don't know how accurate that information is, but I wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Well, we have some people that haven't spoken yet.
In your survey, you need to ask anybody, have they contacted their insurance company and made... In the survey, I would recommend that we have a question to the effect, have you spoken with your insurance company about the longevity and how long they can be insured? Because there was a lot of discussion here about whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15, or 20 years. I know my insurance, I've spoken to them, and I'm good for 5 more years as far as insurance.
Thank you, Sam Bhattacharya, 4810 Eugenia Drive, not a shared roof. There was some talk over here that the barrel roof is the better option. Do we have access to the engineering report that says, indeed, because I think the lady brought up a very valid point that roofing technology has changed, in the last 2 decades. Every time we've had a hurricane, the builders have come up with better products and better engineering. So for us to claim that the best technology that ever existed was 25 years ago seems rather far-fetched. And as a homeowner, I would want to see the engineering report that indeed says that. And if indeed it says that, then we should go with that. However, I think there is some credence to what the lady suggested earlier, that we should look at other technologies and find the best option possible so that we don't have to face this situation for the next 25 years.
Terry Hall, as far as insurance is concerned, I've had 2 4-point inspections of my house in the last 8 months, and I'm covered by Kim Insurance. And I recently got a letter from them telling me that they are depreciating my roof because it is 20 years old, which is, I think, pretty logical for them to do. Why should they have to pay for a 20-year-old roof?
I would just like to ask the committee and the board, in all the time and money that's been spent, have you seeked legal counsel on everything that has changed in the last 36 months with the state of Florida and the HOA's responsibilities and limitations? I know everything I've read, I'm not a lawyer, but everything I've read is taking away powers from the HOA, not adding powers to the HOA. It seems that this whole roof replacement is whether or not your roof can stand within code. I just don't think that the board and the committee should take on more responsibility and time and money with lawyers if you're not authorized to do it anyway under new state law.
None of the current new state laws would affect the roofing situation. Now, there is one regarding ACC that says they've taken away powers at ACC to make decisions, but mainly that has to do with stuff that can't be seen from the street by neighbors and stuff like that. But the new law does take into account that the ACC or associations should consider the new technologies that the 2 last comments that were brought up, and consider that stuff when making decisions for the community.
As far as financing goes and issues with the bank, that you can't be using or assessing certain property owners and not others unless it's common property, meaning...
We've gotten legal opinions on that, and we've cleared that hurdle and gotten over that. But
and the hurdle is that the Carlisle is the you've cleared it, but which way have you cleared it?
That we could assess just the shared roof owners, not affecting all the single-family homes on this special assessment. But let's maybe we can calm down some of the questions regarding the financing and the things. Because we're not going to borrow $2.5 million, probably not going to borrow any money. So let's take that off the table right now, and we can then consider some of the realistic options available.
Wait, yeah, we have to, one question. Is there anybody that hasn't asked a question yet that hasn't got a chance to speak? Is there anyone that hasn't asked a question yet? Last question.
Hello, I'm Karen Kohler, and I'm new to your development. About a month I've been here, and I agree with several of these about the new technology. I've lived in the west coast of Florida when we had Charlie, and those things come through, and the barrel tiles come down like missiles when they get hit. So like the new technology that have lifetime warranties, I mean, if we could all put that on the survey to see if we can agree with maybe different technologies, like we said, things that are more energy efficient, last longer, and better for the community. I think that'd be a good thing to put on the survey.
We're just about out of time. We're down to about 3 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for your participation, for coming out. We'll take everything into consideration and try to proceed and find the best plan.
What did we learn?
Thank you. You did as good as you could.